So, how much are birth mother living expenses when you were doing the adoption process? That is what we're going to talk about today on All About Adoption. If we haven't met yet, I'm Stephanie A. I'm the founder and executive director at Adoption and Beyond. I help hopeful adoptive families adopt the child of their dreams and help expecting moms who feel adoption is right for them and their child find the right family for their child. So when you do an adoption process, in most states, not all, in most states, living expenses are allowed. And I'm going to talk about what living expenses are and why these are given to expecting moms. In the states of Kansas and Missouri, living expenses are allowed while an expecting mom is pregnant and also up to 6 weeks post-adoption as well, which is just to give them enough time to be able to recover, particularly if they had a C-section, or just to recover and to get back on their feet and to be able to find a job, because a lot of moms don't have jobs while they're pregnant, or they lose their job, or they can't find a job because they are pregnant. And so these are gives them a little bit of time to get back on their feet and get the job that they need now that they have completed their adoption process. So living expenses, first of all, let me explain what those are. Those are things that help them sustain their pregnancy and are related to the pregnancy. So it's going to be medical, housing, utilities, food, clothing, transportation, and also legal fees. Those are all things that are allowed to be given to an expecting mom when she's pregnant. Now, they are not allowed to be given to a mom who is pretending to be pregnant, and they're not allowed to be given to a mom from multiple families at one time. When you have situations like that, then you do have grounds to be able to pursue any kind of legal litigation that you want against someone who is scamming. But the far majority of the mamas that families work with are really in need of living expenses while they are pregnant. Now, each state has their own guidelines on how much you're allowed to give, at what point in the pregnancy you're allowed to give, if you're even allowed to give anything at all. So each state has very specific rules and guidelines about living expenses. So in Kansas and Missouri, it's considered reasonable living expenses. So you can't buy someone a car, but you can help pay for transportation, pay for a bus ticket, pay for an Uber drive, pay for helping with her car payment so she can get back and forth to the doctor. So those kind of things are allowed and are considered reasonable. You can't buy an expecting mom a house, but you can help her with rent and utilities and different things like that with regards around her living environment. There are states where sky's the limit and there aren't guidelines. And unfortunately, unethical adoption professionals will use that and will coax expecting moms into the program with the promise of lots of living expenses. And those are, unfortunately, do happen in the world of adoption. So you want to be careful with the adoption professionals that you're working with, that you find ones that are working with what we call ethical living expenses. It is illegal in every state to pay an expecting mom for her child. So when you do provide funds, they need to be specific to the living expenses that we've already outlined before. So typically those are rents paid to the landlord, utility bill is paid directly, or the car payment is paid directly. And so you want to be careful that you are not just handing over money or cash to an expecting mom. You want to be sure that you have your adoption professionals who are overseeing and making sure you're not providing funds for something that's not allowed. One thing, unfortunately, that does happen sometimes is you'll have a mom who is taking living expenses with no intentions of placing her child. Commonly, this word is called adoption welfare. I am personally aware of one mom. Fortunately, I spotted her from the beginning and knew she was not one that I would want to match with one of our families, but she has had multiple children, has taken money for multiple children, and it changes her mind 2 weeks before delivery. Now, you have to be really careful with this one, because a mama does have a right to change her mind about her adoption plan, regardless of whether living expenses were provided to her or not. And so it's really difficult if you're suspicious that she has no intentions of placing. That's very difficult to show the courts whether she just simply had a change of heart or whether this was her intent from the very beginning. So I just want to be very, very careful that you understand that mamas do have the right to change their mind and to parent their child, even if they have received living expenses. And that does not mean that was their intent to do that to you from the very beginning. It just simply means that they had a change of heart and felt that they could not go through with the adoption plan, and it was a legitimate change of mind. And something else I didn't mention is that not all mamas require living expenses. Some mamas have the support of their family. They may be a little bit younger, still living at home, and some have jobs and they don't need the money. So you don't always have living expenses involved in every adoption process. So I hope that brought some clarity and some understanding of what living expenses are and what they cover. And so I hope you found this helpful. So please feel free to hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. Bye.